You have to pay for it. You have to pay for the non-censored version. Yikes. This game is probably dope though. I see the potential. Special scenes, after choices, unseen text, streamer mode. No. I read fast. Out of our time. I'm excited. Oh, there's no voice acting. You have to read everything. I'll just skip the intro. A small window at the far side of the room flashes white for a moment. A storm? Question mark. Now that he thought about it, the day was hot. The viscous stagnating air still filled the room. This and the barely audible squeak of an overheated network filter. He became sensitive to such thing when he couldn't sleep for a long time. Made the entire room seem too vibrant. To vibrate a little. Like a coconut. Like a cocoon that's about to hatch. Actually, that sounds like a good line. He rolled back to the table and was about to write that thought down, but paused over the keyboard. He remembered the individual words and the general idea, but since he had already slipped away, this time the white light seemed to fill the entire room. Then thunder followed, resembling a low gut roar of something large and famished. Good Lord. He called to God. Is this the whole game? Oh. I'm not reading all this. Oh, never mind. He said again, this time aloud. A cat was standing on his porch. That's not a cat. She looked like a purebred British short hair in all respects except for the color. Aside from the smoky grey head, it seemed as if she was dropped into a vat of white paint, while her lower part was dipped in a black one. Wet fur clung to her small, rather skinny body, dripped with water. The cat had probably slipped into the house as soon as the door opened, but instead she froze, and if waiting for the host to say something. Oh, it auto skips. Let her in. Refuse. Oh. I feel like I'm gonna die if I refuse. Let her in. Yes. It was cold outside, much colder than one might think. He didn't feel angry anymore. All right, come in. He stepped aside, freeing the doorway. The cat didn't move. So you don't want to... He was about to say, fine then, close the door, go back to the second floor, and lie in a suffocating half-sleep until morning. But he finally realized all was wrong. The bat. The Batman. He threw it away, aiming for the sofa, but missed. The bat... Oh. The cat followed into the darkness with her round, yellow eyes. The sounds didn't frighten her. He sighed. Pause the game. Pause. I can't pause it. I'm missing all the goods. He smiled. What is this fucking game, man? Fuck, I missed it. Bathe the cat, hell yeah. She's just a cat. Maybe it was because of how the water glistened on her skin, or how she was looking at him from under half-lowered lashes. Yeah, I don't read that slow. Oh my god, it's so immersive. She was actually watching. He met her eyes, and each time felt shame burn through him. But that shame was thick and sweet. He was a little dizzy. His hand slid over her smooth, wet skin, and each time he would ask himself, was it really necessary? Then he would feel her eyes on him, and his thoughts would melt, running down her thighs with the disappearing between her neat toes. I thought she was a cat. The bathroom shimmered, molten, bright, pulsating with light or darkness, ? He felt he was losing his balance, and pulled his hands away, but she returned and pressed it to the wet, hot skin covered in soapy wheel. She guided it. What am I seeing? Oh, achievement unlocked. He couldn't remember how he ended up in the living room again. The cat was napping peacefully in his arms. He absently ran his hand down the cat's wet back, tracing the bumps of her spine with his fingers. I should get you some food. Let me see what I have. He got up with just a tad bit difficulty, nothing he couldn't handle. Still, his body felt unusually heavy and unwieldy. I wonder why. He had to give the cat something to eat. He will lie down afterwards, and then, hell, maybe he'll even fall asleep. Maybe he should have gotten a cat from much earlier. A ball of fur with a pair of moon eyes and velvet voice. They can almost Neko. And that's about it. What? That's kind of funny. He could have avoided all the suffering if only he had a cat. I thought that was voice acting, motherfucker. Why are they forcing me to read this?
Neko でもないのに You were lying around idly, and you're not even a cat. 猫でもないのにそんな状態で寝転んでるなんてね。
Yeah, where's the fucking voice acting then, man? Motherfucker, man. Oh. Ouch. He jumped on the spot. A shadow rushed to the side and then calmly began to lap milk from a puddle. Okay. Oh my... What the fuck? Ah, hell nah. I'm not reading all of this. Oh, never mind. That was the previous. What I've already read. What are you doing? The cat looked at him briefly and licked her lips. Now the voice acting is starting. Now I don't have to read it. Surely you can understand Japanese, no? No, she's a cat, motherfucker. He spilled the milk on the floor and she's drinking the milk. What's wrong with you? No need to be dramatic.
猫でもないのにそんな状態で寝転んでるなんてね。
You were lying around idling, and you're not even a cat. This story is so confusing. I could change it to English speaking, but what's the fun in that?
それにミルク漬けになってるし。
Besides, you're soaked in milk. Goodness. I let you down and had to get my punishment. I let myself down too. Good Lord, now there's cleaning to do until the next advent, like his mother would say. What? I'll go get a rag. Stay here and don't ruin what's left of the kitchen until I'm gone. The cat watched him go with a skeptical look. What's wrong with the voice acting? It comes and goes.
これって全部私のせいじゃなくて自分がやったことなんじゃない？
And why is she talking if she's a cat? Aren't you the one who's been causing all the trouble so far? Question mark. When he returned with the bucket, the cat was gone. I like the eerie music. Oh, never mind. This game is so fucking weird. In the kitchen, something exciting is happening. Take You'll need a blade. Did you take the pills? Scratch out the entrails? What the fuck? This got dark. I really don't want to read all this, but I kind of have to. I'm getting too enticed into the story by now. The next time he saw her was in a few days, or maybe in a week. He always had a bad sense of time, especially when he was immersed in his work. He still couldn't sleep, but at least he was making some progress with the script. It was a narrative game project, as the customer called it, but actually meant do whatever you have to finish it on time, else forget about the payment. And so he did, although was resentful, and that got in the way. The reason of those feelings was the cat. He knew how stupid that was, but he couldn't help it. He forgave her for the bite almost immediately. That wasn't the thing, though. He was bitter about how the cat ran away, despite him trying his best to take care of her. She was nowhere to be found in the house. She is quite big, so hard to hide. So he immediately thought about an open window on the second floor. Maybe he should have closed it. He dwelled on the thought for a while. He even approached the window at some point, but in the end, he decided not to do anything about it. He was hoping, and there was no shame in that. It's not the same as you turn up. It's not the same as you turn up 10 and start eyeing a girl's. And she did. He had just settled himself on a sofa with some books. Some was the word, as he couldn't remember a thing from the fucking idiots from the cover, even though he read the title several times. Maybe I'm not the dyslexic guy. Maybe they're stupid. The symbols were floating before his eyes, and of course he couldn't make out a word. No wonder, considering he didn't sleep at all. When you think about it, it was surprising he could write in the state. I like this. This is giving me practice in reading, even though they can't even spell. Either way, he was barely following the book, so he wasn't upset at all when Fluffy Head buttered his hand. Hey, I'm trying to read here. I'm walking here.
でも内容は頭に入ってないみたいじゃない
And you don't seem to be getting anywhere. The music is way too loud. You're pissing me off. I'm trying to hear some fucking voice acting, man. And you don't seem to get anywhere.
なんでもいいけど
What does that matter anyways?
ここちょっと引っかいて
Better scratch me right here. Another achievement. He complied. You were absent for so long. I thought you'd never be back.
ならなんで2階の窓を閉めなかったのよ
Then why didn't you close the window upstairs? Question mark. I mean, he did say that it was very hot, so it makes sense. There's a big difference between expectations and hope. He had learned that well. Why is her nose so fucked up? Why did you leave? Question mark. Did I do anything wrong? The cat stayed silent. Bitterness, happiness. The most crucial. You don't want to be a simp. But bitter is too much. It's too strong. We enjoy the moments for what they are. Alright, it doesn't matter that much. I'm happy to have you back. After all, there was no point in his grudge from the start. I've never played these kind of games. I don't know what the fuck I'm even doing. I'm too tired to play Elden Ring, so I'm just like, fuck it. I just wanted to play something. This is the first thing that popped up. I've never watched this. Okay, I saw a hot girl with boobies, and that's why I downloaded it. Nobody gains anything by holding on to small grudges and stay blind to what they really feel. He couldn't have won anything. It's not a damn lottery. The cat rubbed against his arms again. He put the book down and gently placed her on his lap. He looked around her neck, and unexpectedly cold touched her skin. And then he got a hunch. I thought it said lunch. Did you go home? Question mark.
家なんかないわよ
I have no home. Well, someone must have be caring about you if they put a collar on you. No, I've had a lot of girls with those collars.
別にただの首輪って場合だってあるわよ
Sometimes a collar is just a collar.
知らなかった
Don't you know? This time, it was him who stayed silent. The cat buried her head in his stomach. Want me to take it off?
別に
No.
私のだし。
It is mine now.
それに、こう
Besides,
しといた方が今後何かと都合がいいかもしれないし。
shut up. Besides, it's easier this way if I catch someone's eye on the street. He nodded, because if you think about it, that really was a reasonable choice. Reasonable. The cat's fur was thick and smooth, very pleasant to touch. He wanted to bury his face in it, find out what it smelled like, what she smelled like. Do you have a name?
もちろん、
Of course.
みんなあるでしょ。
Everything has a name. And what's yours? The cat looked at him carefully with her bright yellow eyes, as if saying, "Take a guess." But she didn't actually say anything. On her locket there was a small engraving, a crescent moon that was dimly shining in the pale light coming out of the window. Selene Gomez. The cat looked at him, and her pupils flickered into 2 full moons in an eclipse. Then she rubbed against his arm one last time and stood up, stretching, arching her back.
2階の窓は閉めないでね。
Don't close the window on the second floor. I won't. She left, but the name stayed with him, in and around the house. Selene. So humid the glass, white in moonlight. So whispered a long shadows of branches outside the window. Focus on the name, doesn't matter. Listen, shut the fuck up, okay? Don't judge me. It's a virus. I got a virus on Steam and I have to play it, otherwise my PC will blow up. I just want this nightmare to end so I can go to sleep. Focus on the name. Wait, what do you mean? What's with the hand? No, that's my cat was lying on my lap. Focus on the name. Doesn't matter. I don't understand. I don't think it matters. Doesn't matter. Oh. Selene. I'm too lazy to play games, so that's why I'm laying like this. I'm too tired and too lazy. I just want to click stuff. Click, click. Selene. He wasn't sleeping. I said don't focus on the name. No. But his house was, and it's Lubabib. Yes. He had a suspicious concern in rats for a while already. At times something scratched inside the walls, that was me, and he became sensitive to such things when he could not sleep for a long time. Faced with those symptoms the last time, he took a flashlight and some stick, and then circled the house for a long time, tapping the walls here and there. That's what I do. He had no idea how to deal with rats. At least that's what he thought, until he remembered how his mother used to handle it. After Timo had vanished, poison became the weapon of choice when it came to dealing with rats. The kind that should be kept away from small children and pets. Having remembered this, he went out to the hardware store and filled the cart with colorful packages. Then he thoroughly strew the whole house with bright, deadly pellets that crunched under his feet when he went to get coffee. After a while, the sounds stopped. Yet, he could hear them again now. Something was scratching. Can you hear that? It's been a long time, so no wonder. These pets always come back. That's what his mother would say. And this time, he'd agree with her completely on that matter. He considered his options. He had no poison left, and he could not go out to restock. He was completely immersed in his work, and although he was now much closer to the end of his script than to its beginning, there was still much to be done. Although he couldn't sleep, he still could work, and it would be stupid to lose pace just to go shopping. Besides, he now had a cat. I already forgot her name. He didn't really own her, of course, but she came to him, and he always made sure that she ate well. Oh my god, this story is literally about me and my cat. He had to care about her safety. No poison. Poison is not the option. Of course, he considered asking the cat to do the job, but every time she came, the thought completely vanished from his mind. They had other things than rats to talk about. He told her a lot about his work and sometimes read what he wrote. The cat rarely gave any comments, but never refused to listen. He liked that about her. Not only that, of course. Take her scent, for example. She smelled of warm fur, dust, and something sweet. Sounds like a good Friday night. This may sound simple, but the smell made his heart ache with sadness and unbearable love. It was the smell of warm June night in which Timo had vanished, and also many beloved cats before and after him. This cat, however, was special. But he couldn't, as that very moment he heard the thing again. Something scratching. And this time the sound was different. He swung around and looked behind him, then swallowed hard, staring into the darkness. Suddenly his head cleared up. Something is coming, said the computer screen. Careful, said the flat white ceiling lamp. It should be downstairs, said the crumbled bed. Downstairs. The floor was dark, veiled in slumber, just like the rest of the house. There's no point in turning on the light if you're going to stay in the same room, typing all night and all morning and all day, and all the nights too, unless, of course, the cat comes. And even if he had to go out, he knew the house was perfectly well, even bonded with it. He needed no light to get anywhere he wanted. That's why he wouldn't turn on the lights, so the one who scratches wouldn't know he was there. He decided so as he went down the stairs silently. The downstairs were quiet. He listened to the silence for a few minutes, but it sounded unconvincing. If something had started scratching, you wouldn't go away that easily. He knew that for sure. Those pests always come back. He had to arm himself somehow, with a bat, for example. He still haven't put the bat away, so it was lying somewhere in the dark living room, heavy and reliable. Had he had As he passed the kitchen, a prickling shiver ran through him, as if someone was looking at him from the darkness of the room. Or was the room itself watching him? Either way, he knew better than to turn and peer into the darkness, meow for the entrance. If he dares, something will come out. Something he doesn't want to know about. He found the bat under the dresser, and just in time, because next moment he wouldn't have been able to move. Something was scratching in the walls, a new, disgusting sound that had nothing to do with rats. To be more precise, this new sound couldn't have anything to do with what was living. Scream, scream, scream. A painful spasm passed through his body. He crouched as if someone had hit him in the gut. And then he did something stupid. Stop it! Please stop. I can't take this anymore. But the nightmare don't end just because you ask it politely, or because you really can't take it anymore. It felt like the voice didn't belong to him. Of course, the voice was his own, but he certainly would have never done something like that. You never talk to one who scratches. He'd probably bear it if it were an invisible trace that's left. But there was none. Only the screech here and there, as if something was trying its strength on the house, looking around for something. Looking for him. He regretted speaking out loud many, many times. It wouldn't be better if he died quietly right here. This would have solved so many problems. He was leaning against the back of the sofa and quietly whispering when he went silent. As suddenly it began. For a while he continued sitting crouched like a giant fetus, hugging his knees and his bat, and only moved when he really believed that everything had calmed down. In that very moment, the round metal handle on the back door began to shiver. He didn't immediately realize where the sound was coming from. The soft rattle of metal and glass. But he had a clue. The transparent glass on the back door was closed by a thin polka dot curtain, and it trembled in rhythm with sound. Then the house got quiet again. Some force, the same one that had beckons to the window on high floors, called him to look behind the polka dots curtain. He knew just one look would be enough to make him lose his mind, but the call was too hard to resist. And he hadn't slept for too long. Slowly, and if half asleep, he made his way to the door. He could see the pattern clearly now, so close it was. Small dots, each one quivering with a small cry. Do not look. Do not look. Do not look. He yanked the curtain aside and stared into the darkness of the eyes of a man facing a truck moving at full speed. Of course, there was no one at the door. Achievement unlocked. After that, he decided to always keep the bat nearby. Sock puppets again. He never got over it, did he?
どうしたの？
The cat was lying on his lap. It had been a long time since her last visit, much longer than he would have liked. I don't know. Something is happening to me, and it's not insomnia. As if I'm missing something. As if something is missing inside of me. I can't explain it well enough, but maybe you know what I mean. The cat was staring at nothing in silence. Something only cats do right. Do you believe in ghosts?
なんでそんなこと聞くの？
I think I've run into something I can't quite explain. The cat was silent for a while.
多分見方の問題かも。
Maybe it's a matter of perspective. What do you mean?
例えば親しい人とかを亡くしたとするでしょ。で、年月が経つにつれてそういう人の数は多くなるわけだけど、でも幽霊になること自体は問題じゃないと思うんだよね。幽霊になる前の時間が大事なんだと思うよ。
Something tightened in his throat.
あれ、なんか私まずいこと言ったかな。だとしたらごめん。全然そんなつもりなかったけど。
I don't want to lose you. Is it possible? The cat looked at him for a long moment, and her pupils, unusually large, looked as black as a moonless night.
耳をちょっとかいてくれる？ 最高の歌を歌うよ。
I like all your songs.
そうみたいね。でも今回は最高の歌だよ。
He ran his hand through the warm, thick fur that smelled of dust and something sweet. The cat was smiling at him, lying in his arms. He could feel with all his being the vibrations of another, very different world as they were lulling his body. The next time he heard the one who scratched right beneath his windows. Beneath the open window on the second floor, to be precise. At that moment he was struggling with a tough scene near the end of the story. Imagining things is quite common if you haven't slept for a while and did a good job on burning out. You think you're hearing things, but as if someone is quietly slurping in the far corner of the room, just beyond where the eye can see. Or, instance, as if it's scratching the wall and brick crumbles are getting stuck under its nails. And it's climbing higher and higher. He realized it could all be in his head. So he took his hands off the keyboard and listened carefully. Just in case. It could be that nothing was actually scratching. But his body was already new. It became cold and stiff, exactly like a house wall. Oops. Oh yeah, boy, you do hear it. Why, of course I hear it. Why would it be any different? After all, the one who scratches finally smelled you, and now it won't back off. And that's when its nervous tics came in. What a duo there were. He had to hold his breath to keep back the mixture of hysterical giggles and sobs trying to burst out of his chest. If he had to escape this, he knew that wouldn't be the end of him. And otherwise, he still had a chance. A pretty solid one. If he'd managed to suppress the tic, that is. When the text doesn't work out, just look away from the screen and wait for a little. The tic will subside itself. But what about the case when one who scratches is creeping up on the wall, higher and higher, and you can hear the nails, and it got oh so many of them, leaving tiny grooves in the house of cladding. They were very sharp, those nails. His mother always had fitting prayers ready for every occasion. But this time, this wasn't the right moment to think of it, as if he had to try to do something. This time, even his mother wouldn't been taken by surprise. She'd probably had to consult a neurophysician forum, as this case sure needed a professional opinion. Something like, "Greetings. My boy had been sleeping for a month or so. You know, it already started to get out of hand. He sits in a dark room all day writing his stupid scribbles. I don't know why he got it into his head that he can write, because all these years in business he still has neither a name nor connections. You know what I mean? And besides, she was always fond of embarrassing him before getting to the point. Besides, he got an awful nauseous tick when the one who scratches crawled up to his window and scratched a hole in his stomach. What prayer would you find appropriate for this occasion? He's not really going to hit this thing with a bat, is he? My baby boy won't hurt a fly. He has no guts after all." The first thing he did when his daze had worn off was grabbing the bat. Then he pressed it against himself, against the wall by the window, and that was all he could do. The nails were already scratching very close to the sill. "I'm coming for you, you little whiny boy with no guts. I'm going to scratch a hole in your belly to see if I can find them." He didn't want to see what was under the sill. He would prefer to die than to look at it. The nail struck the sill. He knew there was now black marks on it, and some metal shavings got under the nails. Maybe some of these nails got broken, but the one who scratches doesn't care. He got oh so many of them. He started straightening ahead. His teeth were clenched and salvia bubbles at the corner of his parted mouth. He was sweeping without a sound, choking on a silent scream. He wasn't really going to hit this thing with a bat, is he? Something began to climb over the sill. He tried not to look at it, yet he could still see it. Something akin to squishy fingers or guts with lots of nails that grew on top of each other like clamshells. In the moonlight he saw tufts of fur glistening on the finger guts, just like a rat's tail. Then he realized two things. Firstly, he got an instinct on Timo's gifts. The thing is, old cats constantly brought him things. The prey, those morbid little signs of unconditional love, as if he thought back then. But now he figured it out. Things had to have been secretly thrown out of the window in the middle of the night, weren't dead rats. Those were small fragments, tiny pieces of the hidden fingers of the one who scratched. Look, master, this nightmare is vulnerable. I drove it away. I brought you a piece of its flesh, which means you can sleep safely tonight. That's what the cat thought when its owner ruffled Timo's knubby, scabbed head. And secondly, he realized with all the clarity this was the thing that lured the cat into the darkness of the summer night, which would never return. The thing that took Timo away, and now it came for Selene. He stopped weeping, but was still breathing fast, too fast, drawing air through the bared teeth. Inside he was boiling with rage. He wasn't really going to hit the thing with a bat, was he? He was. Damn right he was. He turned his head slowly and stared eyes wide open and without blinking, at the glistening flesh chambered over the sill. He was waiting. He felt sick, but decided he was gonna throw up later. Right after he turned the thing into a bloody mess. I knew it. You won't get her. You won't get her. The sounds that came out of his throat didn't resemble words, but that was exactly what he said. He charged at the thing, thrashing it. He smashed his fingers, cuts, nails, tails, or whatever shit it was, and the bat seemed lighter than feather. He had never particularly been strong, but now all his being became pure of will, with the bat at the point of an application. Bloody shreds kept bursting out and sprinkled around as he smashed and smashed and smashed. He paid no heed to the nails that were trying to get him, tearing his clothes, tearing his skin. He didn't care. He didn't feel anything. Anything but the desire to wipe the thing off the face of the earth, to smash it out of reality if he had to. Finally, the corpse crumbled, distorted, slid off the window frame, collapsing down. It was over. The bloody-soaked bat slipped out of his hands and rolled across the floor, leaving a long, black, red smear. He wouldn't have been able to lift it. He was barely standing on his feet, and drool mixed with blood ran down his face. He didn't want to look down, because he could feel the wet heat spreading around his stomach. He knew where that was going. He stumbled to the bed and fell on his back. A hoarse gurgle, breathing came out of his mouth. More than anything, he wanted the cat to come. Everybody loves tomato soup. Tomato soup is devil's favorite food. It reminds me of home. Eli doesn't like tomato soup. Everybody loves tomato soup. One of his eyes were badly damaged by the fall, but Mr. Bench was not too worried about it. He died a few hours ago. Before what happened, threw up with something whitish, and the vomit was still foaming at the cheek, resembling cheap strawberry yogurt because of the blood was mixed in. The police was informed about it. The corpse was not the fact that Mr. Bench couldn't hold his dinner and got his pants a little dirty, but Miss Cora, a neat old lady who lived nearby for the last decade, never woke up later than 5 in the morning. But the first one to notice the body was the cat. She looked like a pure-breed British Shorthair in all respects, except for the color. Aside from the smoky grey head, it seemed as if she was dropped in a vat of white paint, while her lower part was dipped into black one. And she passed by Mr. Bench. She seemed to smell the air from a few meters away, more cautious than interested. Under different circumstances, she might have actually been interested in him, but the cat already had a special someone. He could barely breathe anymore. But when the cat came back, he felt much better.
何したの?
What have you done? I was defending. I wanted to save you. I wanted to save us both.
バカ。
You fool. That's right. But I just can't lose you.
もう遅いよ。
He wanted to object, say something trivial like, it's never too late as long as they're both alive. But he couldn't. The cat clung to him with her entire body, sticked her lips to him. He suddenly realized she wasn't, in fact, skinny, more wiry and quite strong. The next moment he felt his flesh tearing apart, and it tore easily, as quite some time had already passed. And with that, everything really fell into place. He had read about it in the magazine. Feral cats and many house ones, if their owners pass away, aren't above eating human flesh if they manage to reach it. But cats are very discreet, discerning, careful eaters. Having chosen a corpse, the cat remains faithful to it until it's stripped to the bone. Taking into account and also the number of empty sleeping pills cans everywhere, good God, there were too many of them. There was but a single conclusion to make. He died quite some time ago. It turns out the pills failed him once again. The ceiling was swinging back and forth, swaying him like a caring mother swinging a candle. That's when he finally realized it was the kitchen ceiling, and he was not lying in the bed, but the floor. Some vague sounds were coming out of the room, which grew more and more persistent over time. If he knew what Miss Cora's peculiar discovery, he would have probably guessed that the police were already breaking down the door. The cat hurtled, stuffed her mouth, choked, swallowed pieces without even chewing them. He didn't mind. After all, a cat that has no home should eat well, shouldn't she? Simp. Although he got rid of the one that scratched, the street is still filled with dogs and evil humans. Even his mother would agree, and his mother never ever agreed with him. And yet, he still had the one question to ask. Say, did you love me? Even a little? For a moment, the cat took a pause with her task and looked at him in the eyes. Her body shivering. A yellow flap of flesh that occurred of a piece of rotting fat was trembling in her long, sharp teeth.
大好きだよ。
He breathed in her scent for the last time. He smelled of fur, dust, and something sweet. The smell of carrion, ending 2 out of 6. Selene, the end. It was actually really good.